I'm the Executive Director, founder of the Gold Coast International Film Festival and the Gold Coast Art Center, your host for this year's edition of the festival. And how did you like the movie? We have the great privilege and pleasure of having two important players here. Naturally, the screenwriter and director of this film, Ms. Talya Lavie. Please also welcome the president of Zeitgeist Films, the distributor producer of this film, Ms. Gerstman. Before we get to any other kind of conversation, I'd like you to know that Talya was selected as the winner of the Gold Coast Film Festival's very first 2014 Screenwriters Award.
Thank you so much.
Now, she also received a similar award, if I'm not mistaken, from the Tribeca Film Festival. Yes?
The award in Tribeca.
Yes. So the answer is, we're just standing in line giving her accolades.
Just sorry, she got the Best Narrative Film Award at Tribeca, which is a big deal because Tribeca plays a lot of films, and she also got the Nora Ephron Award. So it's also
Nancy, maybe we'll start with you, and we'll talk about what made you select this film for distribution. Let's start with that. What that even means.
well, selecting something for distribution means that you are sort of the middle person between the filmmaker / the sales agent and the many theaters around the country and festivals that are going to play the film. So, as the distributor, our company is a little bit unusual in that we really only pick 5 or 6 films a year, and they're films that we are extremely passionate about. So we did go to Tribeca. We saw many films. I mean, I would say that we saw at least, and for our company, this is a lot because we are a smallish company. We saw about 30 films, and this was the film that we really fell in love with. So that is basically, that's the basic reason. I mean, you also have to feel like other people are going to love the film. You also have to have the feeling that critics might love the film. You also have a feeling that people are going to write about the film, and that, it's really nice to think that festivals are going to, play the film. And all of those things, we don't really know how critics are going to feel about it, because you can't really predict that, but we feel like, it has a great chance of doing quite well.
Talya, there must be questions in this audience, but would you like to talk about where did this come from? This whole concept, this whole idea of a German. Every writer starts with a German, an idea. Anybody when they were a kid ever read anything by Beverly Cleary?
Yeah.
Yes. When I was in the 6th grade, I wrote a letter to her and told her someday I hope to grow up and be a writer. And she said, writing is like taking a piece of red rubber and blowing into it until you have a big red balloon. So what was your little piece of red rubber that started your concept?
It works?
Yes.
Okay. So first, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for coming and for staying here. It started, I think, from what I think about reality and how reality is presented in films. Because I've seen so many army films, so many also Israelis and Americans and from all over the world, and naturally most of them were about men. And then after my own military service, I thought it would be funny to take this genre with the same epic proportions and pathos of army films and to attach to it the experience of the army secretaries. So that's how it all started.
And then what happened?
Then I took the balloon and what you said.
Now, you teach at the Sam Spiegel School, which, for those of you who don't know, is that Sam Spiegel Film School is, would you say, one of the premier film schools in Israel, if not around? I know that we have great respect for it as well. What do you teach there, and how do you go about inspiring other filmmakers?
I teach screenwriting and directing, and I really like teaching screenwriting. I think it's being a screenwriter gives you a license to gossip and not feel bad about it. Because when you talk about people, you're really trying to figure them out and understand them, and not to feel that you're gossip and talking, bad things about people. So that's what I tell my students always at the beginning. And I think that in order to be a screenwriter, you have to live as a screenwriter and to experience everything you experience, and in that way, in a different way.
That means that when I'm around you, I should watch what I say, because it could end up in your next script.
Yeah, but I don't do it like in a way, in a conscious way.
I know.
But yes.
Okay. I saw a hand. Somebody have a question back there? Yeah, down. Well, there's one down here. We'll start with you, and then we'll run our volunteers ragged.
Yeah, oh. First of all, thank you.
We don't know what that is.
You could just repeat the question.
Okay. Let's repeat the question.
I didn't ask it yet. Okay. I was just curious as to how accurate, some of that was. I mean, not the suicide, but just the boredom and the mundane routines that the women seem to go through in the Army. Because, from our country, I would have no idea what women experience in the Army. And I've been to Israel a couple of times, and I was always very curious as to what it was like. What do women do, since they're not usually in combat?
Did everybody hear that?
First, some of them are in combat, and or instructors or other stuff. So it's not, the film is not trying to represent the entire situation of women in the Army and the Army in general. It's only one part of it, but it is a big part of it. And the film happens in 2003 until 2004. It's taking a whole year. And I decided not to put a title of the year on it, but everything in the film, everything that happens in the background and inside the frame, art-wise, and everything matched this time. And the interesting thing is that I thought that maybe when I was doing the film, I did a lot of research. I mean, it's not only based on the things that I've seen myself as a soldier, but many conversations that I had and a lot of meetings that I had with many women, young women released from the Army. And the interesting thing was that I thought that maybe this world, and hoping in a way that this world is disappearing slowly, but then people that are in the Army now said it's exactly like this. And that's the interesting thing that happened with this movie in Israel. It was released, and it was a lot of people were connected to it from a variety of ages. And people 80 years old identify with it, and also very young people who are in the Army now. So it's not, a documentary about the Israeli Army, but it shows a certain truth about it.
Thank you.
Right here.
I want to say two things. I enjoyed the movie, and I liked whatever you did and the way you did it. But I think you exaggerated about what happened in the army. I was in the army many, many years, and I didn't see the army this way. I'm sorry.
What do you say to that?
I say that cinema, filmmaking, I think it's the main thing about it is point of view. And, you know, we are coming to the world, I think, to see it from our own point of view, and that is my point of view. And, you know, sometimes in a film or in any kind of art creation, sometimes you make things, you exaggerate in a way in order to make a point or in order to show a certain emotion that you have.
It was too much.
Any other questions back there? Here's one.
I thought it was brilliant, hilarious, touching. You hit every feeling, from the poor girl committing suicide to the humor of what happened in all their lives, how the one who cared the least rose to, you know, get what she wanted. It was terrific, and, you know, kudos to that. Also, how did you go about the casting? Because each character was so spot on.
The cast, first, really, thank you so much for your kind words. And the casting was a very long process, and we actually auditioned over 300 actresses for the roles of the girls, because in the script we had so many characters, and it was like a puzzle to create. So we just auditioned a lot of girls and did a lot of matches with them. Talya Lavie, the lead, the one who plays Zohar, who also, by the way, won an Israeli Academy Award for this role, for Best Actress, and very proud of her about that. And she also played in my short film, but we weren't sure if she's going to do this film now, and we had to. I actually thought at the beginning that she can be the officer. Now, she's a terrific actress, and she can do everything, but she's not an officer. So eventually she played the Zohar, and the cast is just great. It's a lot of work of casting, and they were magnificent on set, like on the film.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to tell you that you caught the humanity, the humor, the poignant qualities there is in the monotony of the army and in the competitiveness among the women and in the relationships. I thought it was wonderful, and kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
What's the name of the movie in Hebrew?
I enjoyed the music, and I thought the acting was terrific, but I must tell you, I was not happy about the presentation. There wasn't one positive thing in this movie about the IDF. I understand the boredom and the monotony of being in the service. I was in the service myself. I don't personally, I think Israelis and the IDF have enough problems in presenting themselves. This I found negative. The only person portrayed in the movie who had a positive view of the Army was the pathetic woman who was eventually discharged because she was inefficient. The men were minor characters, except for the boy who was trying to rape the woman. The women were, as I said, the acting was terrific, but they were all, in their own way, pathetic. And I personally don't like to see the IDF portrayed this way. I wonder if you have any feelings about it in terms of what I'm talking about. If this is portrayed to other people, it's a negative example.
So first, thank you for the question. I can answer in two parts for this question. First one is the film is not about the IDF. The It happens in the IDF, but it's not about it. It's just the background of where it happens. And if it's about something, it's about Israeli society. And I'm an Israeli. I was born in Israel, lived in Israel my entire life, and that's how I see my own society. I don't do the film as a commercial for anybody else. It's I'm doing my art, not a commercial. So I'm not trying to present anything different than it is. And I also think that the best thing in any aspect is to show the truth, to show humanity, and to show that everybody is people. And that's, other things about the IDF you can see on the news or in propaganda films and commercials, and it's not what I do, it's not my profession. And regarding the characters, what you call pathetic is what I call human. I was being very honest right in the script. So if they're pathetic, I'm pathetic. I really wrote it in a very honest way about my own feelings and about people that I really know. And really myself, I don't put it on other people. And if you're better than me, then it's great for you, really. But I think it's okay to be human about it. I hope that
I would like to just say Talya Lavie. I would like to know, I've seen some other films in the festival. How much did it cost to make the film? And would it be roughly the same as if you made it in the United States?
Budget. I can start from saying it would never be the same in the USA. And it is the entire film industry in Israel is smaller, and it has nothing to do with the same budgets as in here. And the film was it was $800,000. $800. Yeah, that's it. That's all we got. I mean, we tried to raise more, but eventually we worked with this. Yeah.
Looks like a lot more on the screen.
Can you hear me? I think the movie was spot on. If people know the mentality that goes on in Israel and the military there's a lot of movies here that show patheticness of the American military as well, and Marines and what they do to humiliate soldiers. Gives the U.S. military also a bad look of what goes on in the military. So, from my experience from Israel, being in the military as well, so I think it hit it perfect. It was a wonderful movie. It hit a lot of spots that people don't even realize about how competitive it is in an office between women. So therefore, I really enjoyed it. It was hysterical compared to a lot of other Israeli movies that showed, I've seen in the military. So it was a great movie. I loved it, and keep making more.
Thank you so much.
Hi. So I really enjoyed the film, even though at certain points I was a little bewildered. I think it's a good word, but and I should say that I have no idea about the subject matter. I don't know anything about the idea for the Israeli army. But I'm just curious, did you take any inspiration from something like Catch-22? Because that's what I kept thinking of as I saw the film, and how it was a satire kind of,
Well, definitely, I'm very, very thankful for this question and for this the fact that it reminded you of that. Catch-22 is one of my favorite books and movies, and also MASH was a great inspiration for me. And, yeah, thank you.
קודם כל אני נלך בעברית, תודה רבה.
Thank you.
We're Israeli, so I heard the criticism. It's an amazing movie. It's a comedy. So I've been in the army in Israel. My wife has been in the army. We laughed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
confusing was I thought it was supposed to be a comedy, and yet it starts out with this very dramatic beginning. But what I really loved about it, because I just retired from teaching and I taught language arts, and the key here is that a piece of art should keep you thinking and talking and questioning, and it really doesn't matter whether it's true. And of course, we never want to look at anything in a bad way, but this is creative. And I think what you do is you really force us to think of so many different questions about the way men and women interact with each other, how women interact, how they're forced into situations where they behave with each other strangely because of the way they are treated. I was so confused by some of the characters, and I forget her name, was it Nadia?
Rama, the officer?
No.
There was Rama, Dashi, and Zohar.
Russian girl.
Irena.
Yes. But I think that in so many ways, it forces us to think about how we are changed by the experiences we're in, how they influence us, and how we influence others. And if everybody walked out of here confused but still thinking about your movie, then I think it means it was a great success. So, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this film was much more universal than anyone is giving it credit for. Because what it made me think of was a trip down to Florida with my husband on our honeymoon, and he regaled me with stories of basic training. Now this is World War II, and basic training, and these hilarious stories, as he told them, about how they practically messed up the whole army. 2 18-year-olds going down, trying to get to where they were supposed to go. So I think you did a wonderful job there. And it's not particularly Israeli, and it's not particularly women. It's universal.
Thank you.
Mazel tov. I do want to comment that when I was watching the film, I was wondering if it was meant to be a spoof, kind of like more like a Private Benjamin, which was a movie that came out here, I think in the 80s, I don't remember. But then hearing you speak and explain your vision, I appreciate your film much more after hearing you speak and explain your vision and that you're being true to your own vision and how you saw things.
Thank you so much. I should follow every screening then. I should attach myself to every screening.
My question is, what's next?
Well, what's next is I've been working on a new film. It's still in writing process. And yeah, it's a script that I wrote while waiting for funding of Zero Motivation. And now I'm raising funding for this new film. And probably when I start more doing it, I'll feel more comfortable talking about it. But thank you so much for asking and for what you said.
We'll take one last question. I see somebody.
I'm the last questioner.
Who's
How
last?
fortunate am I?
You're the next to the last question. You got it, and he gets it next. Oh, go ahead.
I appreciate your movie. I was agreeing with this gentleman over here, but I was a little upset about the portrayal. But after hearing your explanation, I understand more clearly. And it was very lighthearted. It was somewhat of a true depiction of Army life, and I was in the Army. But I was just wondering, there were many scenes, or several scenes in the movie, that were quite serious and weren't funny, in my opinion. And I'm curious as to what your reaction is when you see audiences laugh at what I felt was some inappropriate times in the movie. I'm just wondering how you felt about the laughter in certain scenes in the movie, which were written, I think, in a serious vein. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I wrote the entire script very seriously, even though even the funny parts. And the biggest challenge for me in writing the script, and actually in the entire making of the film, was this transitions between laughter and sadness. that's the thing I really wanted to achieve, this very specific tone to the film, walking on very thin line. And so everything, that's the way the actors play, and the way the music play, and the way the film is shot, and everything is actually serving this very specific tone in the film. And I really like, I like trying things with, trying to mix genres together. And it was something that I really wished for, and it's interesting to see that every audience reacts different ways. Sometimes people don't know whether to laugh or cry, and sometimes it's all mixed together, and it's a little bit like in life.
Here we have, no, we're taking the last two, and then you can talk to her afterwards.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much. I enjoyed the movie very much. My question is, why did you translate the Efes Yachasei Enosh, zero motivation? Doesn't work with me. I think that's one of the issues that created confusion with our American fellows here that never been to Israel. Because Efes Yachasei Enosh, it's kind of interpersonal relationship, zero interpersonal relationship, versus motivation. It's kind of maybe confusing people who have never been to the Israeli army and don't know the mentality. So that's my question.
Okay, so at first I can say that name in Hebrew is Efes Yachasei Enosh, and it means, in a very direct translation, it means zero for human relations. Now, I think that translation in general is an artistic part of the filmmaking. It's not a technical thing. And when I was doing the translation, I had a very good friend of mine who translated the script before it was a film, and I wanted to apply it for the Sundance Lab. We had to translate the script to English. So we had a very tight deadline, and we found ourselves awake for like 75 hours translating the script. Then we were awake for 75 hours and we were half dead. And then we only left with the title. And then we said, okay, zero for human relations, that's like you said, that's the direct translation, but it doesn't sound like English in a way. And I'm not a native English speaker, I hardly speak, but she knows the language. And we're trying to think of something. I think that in good translation, you find a different word that it's more important to bring the sense of the word into it. And then we figured zero motivation, it sounds great. And then I thought, we are awake for 75 hours translating the script in order to get to the Sundance Lab, and we're probably the most motivated creatures on earth right now, but still we called it zero motivation. And I'm actually happy with this title. I feel that it fits the film. Thank you.
Okay. Last question.
My question is really almost in connection to what this young man had to say. The one thing that I wanted to question was the one thing that we hear about the Army and that bonds soldiers together is their camaraderie. That ultimately people fight not because of their country, they fight for their comrades. And this movie, there was almost no camaraderie at all. Even the two girls who had this adolescent kind of friendship, in the end they're sort of back friends again, but there wasn't any support between anybody in the movie that I always thought was what the glue of Army was was the glue of what kept an Army together. And I was wondering was there any thought of showing that camaraderie a little bit more? I mean, even in MASH, with all their craziness, that's there. And therefore the name, No Human Relations, really is what I was struck by, and I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
So thank you for this observation. I really think also that camaraderie, that's something that really is a big symbol of classic Army films. By the way, all the Army films, almost all the Army films are anti-war. The biggest Army films, they are anti-war usually. back to this friendship thing. So it's a very classic thing, and I try to put some, hints for some gestures for that. Like at the beginning, when they walk into the base, and Duffy says, "Go, I can't go on without me." It's like, it's a gesture for this kind of scenes in army films. I think that there's actually a lot of comrades, a lot of friendship inside the film. Not necessarily, yes, there is this relationship between the two girls, who is complex, and I think it's very real, and I think that friendship between women are there are many times it has a lot of passion into it, not a sexual passion, but it's very emotional. And that's what happens with these two girls. It all happens because they really care about each other. But you can see a lot of other friendships there around. The two girls that are singing are great friends. And Rama, the officer, and her friends that coming to do this shooting course. And you see all kinds of friendship in the film. And, I think that just looking at two great friends, that everything is great, I don't think it's drama. So I was looking for a dramatic story. But thank you for that.
I think I will let Nancy have the last word. Just so you know, we had to turn away at least 30 people at the door who asked us, what's going to happen? Where can I see this film?
That is a lovely question for a distributor. It's opening December 3rd at Film Forum in New York City. So it has a Manhattan opening, and that is again December 3rd. It opens nationally after that. It's a limited release, though, at the moment, but if it does well at Film Forum, it will be far less limited. And I just had a conversation with the person who runs the theater here about having a possible showing of the film. So I assume that you're from this area, but if you're not, and you want it to show in your neighborhood, then you should really ask your local theater. It could be your local specialized theater, which is usually better, but if it's, your usual, the art theater that's near you, or if it's a chain theater, you can still ask for zero motivation. Enough people asking for it will certainly get the book.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming and for asking all these questions and saying I'm really moved and it's beautiful. Thank you.